This is the story of why the bush cow and elephant are bad friends. The bush cow and the elephant were always bad friends, and as they could not settle their disputes between themselves, they agreed to let the head chief decide. The cause of their unfriendliness was that the elephant was always boasting about his strength to all his friends, which made the bush cow ashamed of himself, as he was always a good fighter and feared no man or animal. When the matter was referred to the head chief, he decided that the best way to settle the dispute was for the elephant and bush cow to meet and fight one another in a large open space. He decided that the fight should take place in the marketplace on the next market day, when all the country people could witness the battle. When the market day arrived, the bush cow went out in the early morning and took up his position some distance from the town on the main road to the market and started bellowing and tearing up the ground. As the people passed, he asked them whether they had seen anything of the big one, which was the name of the elephant. A bushbuck, who happened to be passing, replied, "I am only a small antelope, and am on my way to the market. How should I know anything of the movements of the big one?" The bush cow then allowed him to pass. After a little time, the bush cow heard the elephant trumpeting, and could hear him as he came nearer, breaking down trees and trampling down the small bush. When the elephant came near the bush cow, they both charged one another, and a tremendous fight commenced, in which a lot of damage was done to the surrounding farms, and many of the people were frightened to go to the market and return to their houses. At last, the monkey, who had been watching the fight from a distance whilst he was jumping from branch to branch high up in the trees, thought he would report what he had seen to the head chief. Although he forgot several times what it was he wanted to do, which is a little way monkeys have, he eventually reached the chief's house and jumped upon the roof, where he caught and ate a spider. He then climbed to the ground again and commenced playing with a small stick. But he very soon got tired of this, and then, picking up a stone, he rubbed it backwards and forwards on the ground in an aimless sort of way, whilst looking in the opposite direction. This did not last long, and very soon he was busily engaged in a minute personal inspection. His attention was then attracted by a large praying mantis, which had fluttered into the house, making much clatter with its wings. When it settled, it immediately assumed its usual prayerful attitude. The monkey, after a careful stalk, seized the mantis, and having deliberately pulled the legs off one after the other, he ate the body and sat down with his head on one side, looking very wise, but in reality, thinking of nothing. Just then, the chief caught sight of him while he was scratching himself, and shouted out in a loud voice, "Ha, monkey, is that you? What do you want here?" At the chief's voice, the monkey gave a jump and started chattering like anything. After a time, he replied very nervously, "Oh yes, of course. Yes, I came to see you." Then he said to himself, "I wonder what on earth it was I came to tell the chief." But it was no use. Everything had gone out of his head. Then the chief told the monkey he might take one of the ripe plantains hanging up in the veranda. The monkey did not want telling twice, as he was very fond of plantains. He soon tore off the skin, and holding the plantain in both hands, took bite after bite from the end of it, looking at it carefully after each bite. Then the chief remarked that the elephant and the bush cow ought to have arrived by that time, as they were going to have a great fight. Directly the monkey heard this, he remembered what it was he wanted to tell the chief. So, having swallowed the piece of plantain he had placed in the side of his cheek, he said, "Ah, that reminds me." And then, after much chattering and making all sorts of funny grimaces, finally made the chief understand that the elephant and bush cow, instead of fighting where they had been told, were having it out in the bush on the main road leading to the market, and had thus stopped most of the people coming in. When the chief heard this, he was much incensed, and called for his bow and poisoned arrows, and went to the scene of the combat. He then shot both the elephant and the bush cow, and throwing his bow and arrows away, ran and hid himself in the bush. About 6 hours afterwards, both the elephant and bush cow died in great pain. Ever since, when wild animals want to fight between themselves, they always fight in the big bush and not on the public roads. But as the fight was never definitely decided between the elephant and the bush cow, whenever they meet one another in the forest, even to the present time, they always fight. Don't forget to subscribe.